Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Welcome back. Today's just a brief kind of book chat video. I'd wanted to wait until I had a third short story collection by this author, but I hadn't had time to dig into that one yet. So I wanted to go ahead and read and do a brief chat about the two that I have read so far. So we're gonna talk about two sort of short story collections by Sonora Taylor. This has been my first time reading Sonora Taylor, and yeah, I loved these stories. So I just want to talk a little bit about them today, and recommend them to you basically because I thought they were pretty great. So let's jump right into it, friends. Okay, we're gonna dive into The Crow's Gift and Other Tales first. This was from 2017. It's 4 stories in there, and I liked them. So let's talk a little bit about each story to let you know kind of what they're about. The first story is The Crow's Gift, and our main character is Tabitha. She's a 4th grader. She lives alone with her mom, and she kind of walks back and forth to school, and she does tend to get a bit bullied. Her parents, she and her mom, like, they don't have a lot of money, that kind of thing. But she's particularly bullied by this douchebag named Simon. Along the way, walking back and forth to school, we see Tabitha has a bit of an affinity for birds. She likes birds in general, but one day she notices this crow kept just sitting there, and she's like, "Oh, hello," and the crow squawks back, and she's like, "Oh, you talk to me, okay." So she names the crow Timothy, and they do form a little bond, a little friendship on her walks to and from school. She will save some crackers from lunch, and she'll drop them to Timothy as she's walking back to school, and he eats them up and sometimes shares them with his crow friends. And then as she's walking back to school the next day, there Timothy will be, gives her a squawk, and then leaves something like a tiny pretty pebble or something like that. And so they have this little exchange going on, and it makes Tabitha very happy. Of course, one day this Simon sees her talking to Timothy. He's of course just a jerk about it because he's the bully. Tries to throw rocks at Timothy and everything. And well, let's just say Timothy helps possibly get a bit of revenge. And it was so good. It was such a great story. Very atmospheric, and of course the bully gets it in the end, so that's always good. So that was a wonderful story and a wonderful start to this collection. The second story is called I Love Your Work, and we follow a woman named Anne, who is basically the #1 fan to this author named Samuel Miller. She's read all of his books and all that kind of stuff, follows him on all the socials, everything, just loves this author, loves his work. And even though she's tried many opportunities, she's never quite got to meet him in person, but finally he's at a book signing in her town. And things happen along the way. She gets stuck in traffic and all kinds of stuff, and the universe is trying to keep me from this author. What the heck, And well, maybe this author isn't all he's cracked up to be, right? It was a really good story. I think it really dug into what it's like to be a fan of an author, to kind of love their works, and when you finally have the opportunity to meet them, you're so excited, just that feeling, especially there was a scene where there's a part towards the beginning where the author responds to a comment on Twitter or something like that, and she gets so excited. I get excited like that too, when you have an author they see me, kind of thing. It kind of makes you feel happy, right? So she really dug into that feeling. So I thought that was great. So the next story is I Never Knew Your Name. This was a really short piece. I don't really say too much, but it's really about these 2 strangers that just meet kind of every day on their kind of walk to commute to work. How they kind of pass, in just this time of the morning, and I'll leave it at that. I don't want to say too much more, but it was really good also. And then the last story was All the Pieces Come In Together. Let's see. Yes, so this one was kind of funny. We're following the perspective of a serial killer who's not quite a serial killer yet, because he hasn't killed a bunch of people. But he's like, I'm ready to take the plunge. It's time. It's time to step it up. And so he goes out on the prowl, right? So he goes to this bar, because of course he goes to a bar. You know, kind of saddles up to this woman. She takes interest in him, and he's like, all right, she's the one, right? And so she's like, I'm gonna take him back to my isolated cabin, and I'm gonna finally kill someone, right? And maybe not. So this one, like I said, there's a bit of humor to this one, because there's a twist, you know, that you don't. There's a twist with this woman, and I thought it was pretty good. So yeah, it was a nice short collection. Again, 4 stories, but they were all really good. Sonora is a heck of a writer, honestly, and really pulls you into these stories even though they're short. She hooks you right in, and yeah, I really enjoyed these. So would definitely recommend. So let's talk about the next collection. Again, it's another 4-story collection. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, yes. And this is from 2018, and this is Wither and Other Stories. Okay, Wither is the first story, and this one was a fantastic story. We follow a sort of young girl named Katie, and she lives kind of out in the woods with her parents in this kind of cottage, you know, in this forest kind of thing. But what we learned throughout the story is they have left the city. Her parents are like, they've become some of those people that are like, oh, we can't deal with city life anymore. It's just too much. We want to go live off the land, and we're going to become foragers and like hunt, and like earth will provide kind of thing, you know. So my son is humming in the background. I'm sure you can hear. This is my life. This is very typical for my videos. Please ignore. Okay. I don't know why I feel like to say something every time, but there it is, just in case anyone's new. But anyway, because they're not quite self-sufficient, the dad does take some trips back to the city every now and then, you know, just to get a couple of things that they can't get in the woods, and he usually brings back some newspapers. Katie, you know, reads the newspapers, and we soon find out that something's happening in the city. People are getting really sick, and things are just not going well. And will that possibly affect Katie and her family living out in the woods? You'll have to read and find out. But this story was amazing. Sonora gave us this landscape of this forest. She just described it beautifully. And even the scenes of the city, you could really visualize it. And just this short story. You really feel for Katie, because, you know, she's a kid, and she's stuck out in the woods with her parents, you know, and she doesn't have control, you know, over her own life, right? It was a fantastic story. I don't know that I'm describing it very well, but it was really, really, really wonderful, and it kicked off this collection like fantastically. So, Wither, A+. Let's see. The next story is called Nesting. Okay, this one was a very super short story. We have a woman who's looking out her window. She sees a bird building a nest. But we also learned that people are dying in this world, and she's trying to just remain in her home and not be forced to leave, because when she hasn't sort of observed when people leave is when they die. And but again, it's very short, so I don't want to say too much, but again, it was just it captured so much emotion in this. I mean, literally just a few pages of this story. It was fantastic, just wonderful. So that's staying another A+ for me. The next one was called Smoke Circles. Again, this one was another short, just a few pages. There's this sort of woman, and it seems like she's at some sort of campground type place. She is sitting around a campfire with some strangers, and they're talking, and then she goes back to her cabin, and I don't know, throughout this story there's just this sense of loneliness, even though she's around people. But yeah, she just seems really sad, and again, it was just so evocative, and lots of emotion in these few pages. Just really wonderfully well written for something so short. It was really good. Okay, so something a little different. It's called We Really Shouldn't. So we follow Kelly, who is a blogger, and one day she goes to a coffee shop to kind of work on her blog, because they're doing like some work in her apartment, and who walks in but her ex, Josh. And he's like, "Hi, Kelly, how are you?" And she's like, "Oh man, she broke it off." So he's like, "Oh man, hi." She tries to be nice, and Josh is pretty persistent about, let's get together, let's catch up, and let's get back together. We were really good together, and we learn about why they were drawn together, the things that they did together, and why they probably are kind of made for each other. And even though their relationship was very tumultuous, they argued a lot, when they came together, it was just perfection, right? So I really liked this story. I feel like I'm a broken record, but it was good, because it went to a place that I wasn't expecting, and so that's always good when you get a little something unexpected about what in the world was this relationship about. Why do they break up if they're just so good together at this? So yeah, we figure all that out, and it was so good. So yeah, I thought this was a great way for me personally to kind of dig into Sonora Taylor's work. Again, I do have another of her short story collections, and I think I have one of her longer works on my Kindle also. So yeah, I'm a fan. So I think if you are maybe want to dig into Sonora Taylor, these short collections are a perfect way. They definitely give her good show her writing style, and again, the really sort of emotions that she writes with, and all that, which I think is fantastic. So yeah, check these out. Again, one is called The Crow's Gift and Other Tales, and then Wither and Other Stories. And yeah, check those out. I really enjoyed them, and I can't wait to dig into more by this author. I'm very impressed. Instant fan. So let me know if you've read Sonora Taylor. Have you read these stories, or what have you read? What should I read next? Let me know. And if you haven't, if you plan on checking it out, let me know also. And thanks so much for your time. That's going to do it for me today. So until next time, bye friends.